Hello. Uh, Going to start presenting several tutorials on how I'm creating my battle maps. I have been requested from users on Reddit on what programs I use and how I do it. So I figured I'd do a few tutorials since I haven't seen a whole lot out there. Basically, I use Roll20 for my battle maps, and I set the grid size to be 35 by 35, which comes out to be about 50 pixels per square. One of the first things I do is I've got a little scale marker that I use to mark the scale, so I can adjust that if my scale changes at all as well. One of the other things I do is, since I've been creating a lot of maps, I've basically created a base template, which is 35 by 35, and I've got a whole bunch of different texture layers, grass, dirt, mud, water, a bunch of different types of waters, and some other layers. I also have a stone wall layer for when I do castle towers and such. And most of these you can just go to Google and type in texture space grass. Usually I put in seamless for my textures because I want to overlay them a bunch. And you can see there's a whole bunch of different textures. I believe this is one of the main ones I have, which is similar to this, though it looks like it's slightly off, so I have one slightly different. For rocks, again, you just texture rock. You can get brick walls or stone wall. And there's lots of different textures you can find out here. And that's basically how I created all these different textures. One of my water textures I'll quickly show is this water texture right here, but there's actually several of them. There's the real muddy water, and the one below it, which is a little bit clearer but still fairly muddy, and then I've got one which is more of a reef. These I created with the help of certain random guy from the forums as well. Him and I basically merged a couple different textures together and with transparency and came up with these. So this I like for my swamp maps, which is what I've been doing mostly lately. So again, I start out with my base template, and again, you can create these, and then I'm just going to create a swamp bandit camp. So first thing usually you want to do is start out with basically your land masses and such. So basically I want a little camp in the middle where the bandits are basically hiding out, surrounded by swamp water. And so basically what I do is, there's different ways you can do it. Some people will cut out the layer, and then you get a hard edge and everything like that. But then if you want to add some more landmass over here, you got to cut out another piece. So rather than do that, what I prefer to do is actually just use layer masks. And within Photoshop, I just go down here and click the layer mask, and it automatically adds a visible mask. You can do all this, I believe, as well as in GIMP. I use Photoshop just because it's something I grew up with. But I believe all this functionality is available in GIMP as well. So again, here I've got this. I want to just create a quick landmass. So I'm going to pretty much set my opacities to flow and increase my brush size and say, hey, I really don't want any of this. I want to create basically a little island in the middle. And it's not that much different than if you were going to cut it out, so basically the same result. And again, just try and make it sort of natural looking. You get pretty much the same result. But then what I'll do is I'll go down in here, I'll lower my flows and opacity, and then I'll usually decrease my brush size and start, going along the edges so it's not a hard edge there. This sort of like, natural dirt giving way to grass and stuff for that. And so I'll just go along the edges, slightly brushing. And again, you can use pretty much any brushes that come with Photoshop. You can download brushes and stuff. Right now I've mostly been using like an irregular brush to do most of my map generating. So again, I just go, along the edges, lightly brushing the outsides, and as you can see, it sort of gives the natural look of the grass going towards the dirt. Now again, then I'll go down to my dirt level and say, well, I don't want dirt around the whole thing, I sort of want swamps. So again, I'll boost that way up, and then I'll increase my brush again, and again, get rid of the dirt for the most part. Okay, and as I'll start to get closer, then I'll decrease my brush size, and again start going back down, lower my opacity. And these, I don't have any specific set amounts. It's just more of a how comfortable you are with it, and then just start using those again along the edge, and you can sort of see it now goes from a natural, from the grass to the dirt, which is fairly dry, to the mud, which is a bit more wet, which gives it, again, a more realistic look rather than having hard edges. The big thing I found with battle maps is you want to be, it's the little imperfections that sort of make it realistic looking. You don't want hard straight lines that catch the user's eyes and stuff like that. So again, then I'll go down to my mud, and I'll add another layer map. Again, I just want to get rid of most of the mud. And I'll show you in a little bit why we don't want to just cut this out. So again, I'll just get rid of most of this. Whoops, I grabbed a line there. I keep resizing that. So again, just go around the edges, and then I'll just lower my flow and lower my opacity, and then resize my brush. I like using different size brushes because again, it adds to the irregularity of the work. Again, imperfections, adding to the different levels. So again, I'll go around here, and so you can see it sort of just flows right into the water at this point, which is sort of nice. So I probably could increase this flow a little bit, otherwise I'll be here a long time just trying to flow this out. Okay, so here it looks like I've got a little bit too much, so I'm just going to put a little swamp back into there, just changing the mask again. So it gives it a natural island look. Okay. So then I've got my mud, and everything looks good. Now again, one of the reasons I don't like to cut things out of my layers is because, hey, I need a path to get off of this. The bandits use a common path. So what I'll do is, again, I'll just invert my colors, go back to make sure I'm on my layer mask. I'll say, well, here's my path. This is the path they use to get off the island. They could travel through the water, and maybe I'll add a dock. But again, here I'm just saying, okay, here's basically the direction they get off. Now again, it's probably, I don't want it all mud, so I'm going to put a little dirt back in there by just applying. And if I'd cut this out, these things out, I'd then have to cut another piece out here and then reapply it, and I just find that seems to be too much work. So I'm going to apply, some grass here. It's not all dirt. Maybe just a little bit here. I probably need a little bit more dirt sand there, and then get some, so already we have, sort of a nice natural looking island. So the next thing that I sort of want to show everybody is, again, here we went to Google for that. What we want to do is we want to add some trees around the island, basically hides the bandit camp. So you can just do trees. and go to images, but that gets you all different types of trees. So where I get most of mine is I actually get it from Dungenie, and I'll actually type swamp tree. As you can see, they got images which are top-down images with shadows and stuff, willows, and different types of trees. Again, you still get other mixes. So this is a good map, so you sort of want a tree, that's got, branches, some moss, on it and stuff like that. So I sort of want to get it to look like that. So again, what you can do, whoops, doesn't like that site, probably doesn't have a good certificate, is you can then download these images. Now I've already downloaded quite a few of them. As you can see here, here's my Dungenie. This is all stuff I've unpacked from either archives over the years or whatever. Some of this stuff is going back to 2011. But so here's all my different trees that I have, and probably 90% of these I've found from Dungenie. So I've got some like what I call swamp trees. Again, I got to work on my naming standard, because again I have here swamp trees, and then I got tree swamps. So I'm going to let's start with this guy, and I just, these are pre-done trees, and this is actually, so you didn't find this obviously on here. What I did was I took some of these trees, maybe this tree, and then just combined it into an image, so you can sort of see here, you have the edge of the trees. You can see sort of the moss tree in there. You can see a dead tree. You can see some grass that I added, some leaves and stuff like that. So again, what I'll do is I'll just drop that into my thing, and I'll bring it up to my scale to make sure I'm scaling. He's going to increase just a little bit, because the tree's about 20 feet wide, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So that's 25. Now, one of the problems with the Dungenie art is very rarely, because again you're looking from a top-down view, do they have roots. And if you actually go up and do roots, you'll find some. This isn't that bad, but again it looks a little bit too unnatural. This looks a little bit better, but I don't like the colors. So I've actually again created some of my own. You can see I've got some different tree trunks and stuff like that. But so I've got tree roots there, and where is it? Oh, it's under roots right here. So I've got swamps, and then this. And so this is the actual latest that I've created. And basically it's just dead trees. So if you actually just go dead tree, you can see basically these are just different dead trees, and what I did was I just combined several of them and then gave them some shadow, and it turned out pretty good. I'm sort of happy with it. So again, I want to be underneath my tree, insert my new layer, and so that's a little bit too big, so I'm just going to shrink that guy down. And so you can see, the roots extending beyond, because usually again swamps have large root systems and such. It's a little dark, and I may have to go back and recreate this and reduce the shadow a little bit, but it's not that bad. Also, you'll notice that this guy doesn't really cast the shadow, so I'm actually just going to go here and add a drop shadow. I don't like using global light, and I also like it right above, so I get rid of that, and then you can just increase it like that. But again, that's getting a little bit too much, and I may play with the opacity a little bit to give it again a more 3D effect. Now, one of the other neat tricks is, again, so this root system is, it's on the land and it's on the water, but it doesn't look like it's touching either of those. So what I'll do is I'll add an overlay to there, and I'll go in with my brush again and start hiding some of these elements. So again, these are basically digging into the dirt, so I'll just sort of bury those. Maybe there's a little bit showing through the grass, but they sort of merge nicely with the dirt by adding the overlay. Down here, I'll add the overlay, and you'll see a nice effect is it sort of looks like they're sort of going into the water at that point, which again gives it a bit more realistic nature. So I'll do that and just go along the outside edges and go from there. So then again, we'll go back, we'll re-show the tree, and again, you can see the roots, going onto the land and going onto the trees. So again, if you zoom out to 100%, it sort of looks like that. If you show the full thing, hey, I've got that. I'm not happy with the shape of the island, but I'll fix that a little bit. Another thing is why did they send up, start their bandit camp here? So, what's good about this place? So I says, well, let's add a spring here that sort of feeds, it's fresh water, that they don't have to worry about, getting sick from or whatever. So we're going to add a little bit of a spring. So again, I just go back to my layer mask and I want to hide. We'll start with the grass, and it comes in on the south side and sort of just goes along here. And then I'll make a pool of where, the spring sort of emanates from, getting rid of the grass like that. And then I'll do the same for the dirt. So again, you can start seeing the mud coming through. Actually, we'll go to 100% on that, so you see it a little bit better. Okay, maybe get a little bit more of the grass out of the way. Okay, and then I'll go down to my dirt layer, or my mud layer, I should say. And start letting the muddy water through. And it's like, well, hey, a spring isn't muddy water. What we really don't want that. So again, what I'll do is I've got different colors of water down here. I'll go down here. Here's a nice blue water. Actually, I think we'll use this water. So I'll go here again. I'll add my layer mask and just start, carving out the nice blue spring water. Because again, they don't want to be drinking the muddy water. That's why they camped here. So as it gets further along the lines, it starts getting more muddy. We're just going to clean up the dirt a little bit. Oops, wrong brush. I should learn the shortcuts for all this stuff, but yeah. Okay. And even so, that water I'm still not 100% liking. So I'm going to go here, and with my bottom water, my nice blue natural spring water, I'm going to resize my brush, or maybe even change my brushes, so that spring water's sort of coming through. Excuse me. So again, looking at it, so that's not bad, from an overall point of view. But, so the question sort of comes in is you really can't see the level difference. So another neat trick is, again, going here, and you can, type in, rock overlay, and it gives you, a few examples, not a whole lot, but basically we're looking for something like this. And again, you'll see that's Dungini, coming from their forums. So usually, again, I'll just type in Dungini, and then you'll get a whole bunch more. So here's one which you can then download and save. And again, what you want is you want a transparent background. Some of these you'll see have a white background, and that won't work. You'll actually have to fix that. And I'll actually have a tutorial later going into that. So I've actually already got a bunch of overlays that I've downloaded. Actually, I have them under cliffs. And so again, here's that one we were just looking at. So I'll just grab that and paste that. And you want to make sure these are now above everything else. So again, that's looking a little big. So what we're going to do is we're just going to resize that guy. Make him a little bit more natural. Like that. And I'm actually going to copy him and paste him again, and we'll just go over here along the edge here, and you can see it starts to add a 3D effect by the shadow overlays, adding to the images. So again, here we sort of have like a little ramp leading down into the pool that they can get into. I'm going to add some more shadow overlays. Now again, I don't want to add the same one over and over because it'll look a little bit too redundant. So I've got a bunch down here that I can use. Here's another one. This obviously is a bit smaller, so again, I don't have to resize it too much. I am resizing it, re-angling it. So again, here, I'll just put that there. So again, it's looking like it's dropping down into a well of such. So again, here we'll grab this guy. So again, I got a bunch of different types. So again, it looks more natural. Each one's sort of different. This guy, I'm going to go here. And it's okay if they overlap, because it actually adds more shadow and it looks like rocks. Sometimes I'll cut the edges off, you know, but you don't want it like that because that doesn't look natural. But having them overlap is perfectly fine. So again, you can sort of see it's going down into the edge. And then you'll see here it sort of starts going, you know, it's like, oh, there's sort of like a cliff there. So again, what you can do is sort of add an overlay. Yes, I love overlays. And just sort of start hiding that, you know, making it less transparent, and you can sort of see it sort of looks like it's going up a little bit of a ramp there. So again, we'll paste that guy again, use the same one, but this time we'll just move it to a different place, and obviously I'm not resizing it the exact same, so it looks different each time you sort of use it. And so here, we're going to go there. I'm not too happy with that, so let's just hide that, delete that. I'll grab another overlay. This guy I don't think I've used yet. Oh. So again, there he goes. That looks good. And we'll just grab another guy. And I'll do another tutorial on how to actually create these shadow overlays if you can't find something you exactly like. And they're really fairly easy to make. So again, you've got a little circle, and then the water, after millions of years, have cut through the rock and eroded it away. So again, we'll just resize this. And there, make them a little bit longer, and again, see, I'm just overlapping it. Sometimes you'll get a little hard border and you sort of want to erase that, but it's not too bad. So again, I'm just going to add a layer mask to this guy, and you know, sort of start fading him down a little bit, because he's more going, you know, less of an incline as he gets towards the beach. And that's pretty much it. So again, you know, if you zoom back out, you've got, you know, a tree, you've got sort of a 3D effect with the pool of water, and you got your trail. This is going to be the end of it for the first video. I'm going to add a little bit more, but basically doing the same functions, and then I'll go into some other details. Thank you.